Hello, friends. Welcome to Nirmal. I am Piyush Jain, and today we are bringing to you a new company which is bringing out its IPO. It's a company which is already basically bestowed by a lot of institutional shareholding. It's a company which is already touching lives of many Indians. Again, a lot of consumer accounts, and also it's providing a lot of government-facing solutions. So let's try and understand the business model of the company, and for that, let me now welcome. The management, Mr. Suresh Sethi, the MD and CEO of Protean Egov Technologies Limited. Suresh sir, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Sir, I think for the benefit of our viewers, I think let's first try and understand what's the business model of the company, how the company makes money, what are the different types of services actually you're providing.
Sure, Piyush. And thanks again for having me on the show. So let me talk about the company first. The company has been a strong part of India's digitization story. We are an ITES enabled company, and we provide products, services, and solutions contributing towards building digital public infrastructure. And we've built infrastructure at a population scale, working with the government over the last 28 years. Our primary assets, again, or contributions have been in the space of modernizing the tax infrastructure. We are also the issuers of the National Tax ID, which is the PAN card, and we also host the entire PAN database with us. Similarly, we've played a strong role on the pension front, where we were designated as the first Central Recordkeeping Agency for the national pension system. And today we also host the Atal Pension Yojana on the same Central Recordkeeping platform. So that is a significant line of business, and we continue to remain the largest CRA in the country. Over and above that, we have worked closely on Aadhaar stack, and today we provide authentication and KYC services to an entire spectrum of BFSI industry players, and along with that, the fintech partners in the market to provide various services for digital onboarding, account opening, loan provisioning. So any type of financial services which requires, Aadhaar-based authentication or KYC is the foundational services are provided by us. So this has been our larger, businesses which we have traditionally built. Taxation was something we started in 2003, and cumulatively over the period of last, 20 years plus, we've almost issued 66% of the PAN cards in the country. Okay. And equally important is the fact that India is looking at multi-sectoral digitization. The underpinnings are the strong policy framework which METI has put forth, where we are looking at national open digital ecosystems getting created in multiple sectors, ranging from e-commerce, mobility, health, agriculture, education. These are areas, again, in which we are doing accelerated investments in people and technology, looking at full stack engineers, people with data analytics specialization, sector specialization, and people proficient in open source technology and open standards on which the open digital ecosystems are getting built. So ODEs is a strong new business for us. Likewise, on the data side, we are building on top of our ID services, and we are extending in a vertical integration to build end-to-end digital onboarding services and leveraging our account aggregator license, which we have a subsidiary now, which is Protean Suraksha. And that is where we are looking at providing data and allied services, where we can draw insights from data and provide analytical models for different purposes, whether it's credit scoring or financial management of wealth. And so that data is a second line of business. And the third, we've invested in building a cloud services and infosec consulting business. So from a three business model, we are diversifying into a 6 business stack. And at the same time, we are also looking at taking this entire e-governance infrastructure global and work in global markets wherever there's the need for identity projects or pension projects around social security or tax projects. So that in essence is the business model of the company.
Sounds really great because we have a large population, and you actually then would be able to touch a lot of digital entities in such a large population. the next part, sir, is how are you making money? So even if you are doing a PAN card issuance, or even if it's identity verification through Aadhaar or maybe through PAN card, the thing is, when we go to the other side from verification, identification, or issuance, how are you making money? So please help us understand that also.
Sure. So Piyush, our revenue model is largely transactional, and we also have an annuity component in that. So I'll just talk about the large businesses which are contributing to a majority of our top line. So the PAN business or the tax business is primarily a B2C business. Our revenue pools come from the consumers. So it's a transactional charge for per PAN card issuance. Similarly, there's a charge for any change request on the PAN card, which is the demographic details. And likewise, if there's any reprinting or reissuance of the PAN card, it's a transactional charge. So this is a completely B2C model. On the tax deduction, the ETDS filing, it is a B2B model where the corporates pay for every tax record that they file. Again, completely transactional in nature. The CRA business, which we run, actually has three components. So we have a transactional component where we get charges for every new account opening. But at the same time, there's a significant annuity component where for the total base of subscribers, we get paid. And we also get paid for the transactional charges for any contribution or withdrawal. And last but not the least, the identity services business is largely a B2B business where we deal with BFSI entities, both from a fintech perspective and the financial participants. And there it is a B2B, and it is again transactional in nature. So our underlying revenue pools are transactional for historical businesses. For new businesses, again, we are looking at SaaS models where there's a cost of building consumer corporate tech, where we have an implementation charge. Plus, largely the model runs as a SaaS model on transactional or transactions happening through the ecosystem, whether it is online, or whether it is open digital ecosystems or data stack or cloud services. So these models are again similarly SaaS based.
Right, sir. So one question perhaps will be, what is the sort of revenue split between transactional and annuity revenue right now? Percentage split, roughly?
So around 70-75% is transactional. The remaining is annuity.
Okay, but even with respect to that, your revenue growth is quite steady. I was looking at a couple of numbers data. It was like quite steadily moving up. The underlying reason must be in terms of new customer acquisition, right, sir?
So Piyush, it is, if you see, it is our businesses, number one, are pretty well aligned with the India digitization, approach. So digital India is a reality now, and we've seen the strides which the country has made. And Protean has been at the forefront as a partner to the government, as a partner to the ecosystem in contributing in this digitization. So our growth is very much led by the fact that India is digitizing. And whether we see financial inclusion numbers, whether we see the number of accounts getting opened, and our own country track record in terms of account opening penetration, all these activities today require some sort of products or services that we are providing. When we look at the fact that when we look at PAN issuance, year on year we see a significant industry growth, because right from the fact that anybody needs a PAN card to open a bank account, to doing any capital market transaction above a certain value, any property purchase. So these are instruments which are transactionally used in every sphere of life. So as digitization grows, we see all our businesses converging, and therefore leading to the growth that we are seeing over here. And we see significant headroom going forward. The PAN penetration in the country today, it's like no saturation over there. Every year you have new students coming, opening their first bank account.
And we have young population and increasing rising wealth. So perhaps I think for the next many years you'll keep actually see those increasing issuance data.
That's right.
So one question I wanted to ask you: what has been the average revenue per user?
Piyush, I lost you in between.
Sure. So I was asking you, sir, how has been the average revenue per user data? How has been that trend for you?
Piyush, we don't compute it on an aggregate basis because the businesses are very different, right? Because we have a B2B component, a B2C component, and even a B2G component. So coming at an aggregate number, or rather one number which represents this, is very difficult, and we don't
I,
generally compute it that way.
I'll change my question. I'll come to the margin part here. While the margins are actually very strong, just one curious question, I think, which our viewers should also actually understand why it happened. We saw a dip in margins last year. Was it result of some sort of structuring or change of like? Was there any change? Like what happened last year?
So there were two elements if you do a year-on-year comparison. For us, one point was that we had a exceptional item in our balance sheet, and last year we did a data center sale. So that came in as an exceptional revenue item. And secondly, what we also had was that, as I was mentioning to you, our focus in growth areas that we have got into, we also did a significant investment in people. Our employee benefit expenses moved up by almost 50% between FY22 and 23. This was significant, ahead of the time, accelerated investment in full stack engineers and data analytics specialists, as I mentioned earlier, in product specialists and sector specialists, which we concentrated and brought forward. And that is, again, something which contributed to increase in expenses, which was in a way specific and not a normal curve. And that's what contributed to the margins.
I'm curious now because whenever upfront investments happen in technology, you usually actually see a non-linear push after that. So I'm now curious to actually understand how actually are we looking at what are there some you have already explained the businesses, but are we expecting sort of what sort of turns or what sort of launches are we expecting over the next 2-3 years?
So I think the key focus, again, as I said, is the three new lines of business. ODEs for us is a very significant play, and I will elaborate on that because there, as a company, we are playing at both the layers of infrastructure building. We are playing at the infrastructure level, which means we are today, for example, powering the entire ONDC ecosystem, which is supporting digital commerce and supporting mobility. And at the infrastructure level, we see Protean as being pretty unique. There are very few comparisons with the sort of stack we have, which we see in the market. So we see as a less competitive space, and we have the right to win with the sort of investments we've done in people proficient in open source technologies, stacks, and standards. At the innovation layer level, where it is all about building consumer and corporate tech, we today have a huge corporate base also in lines of the products we already provide. And it gives us a good advantage to cross-sell to these customers and provide more value-added services. Example being, today we provide foundational services of eKYC, e-sign, e-authentication, but we are looking at providing end-to-end digital onboarding journeys. We are looking at using our account aggregator license to provide analytics and therefore mechanisms for the financial institutions to do credit scoring and all. So these are all value-added services, a need of the hour.
You will be able to have more wallet share of the same customer.
Exactly. So it will give us the ability, one, to cross-sell with our existing customer base, and also to open new markets for us on an area which is growth-driven and also having more value-added services than at the foundational level.
Sure, sir. I'm fully aware, sir. We have you less time, so I think we'll move quickly to our last two questions. Dividend policy. I've also seen unique part that you have been returning cash to the investors. Are you going to maintain the same dividend policy as your listed avatar versus the unlisted avatar? Like any particular thought on that?
Piyush, the company, I can definitely speak from a historic perspective. The company has had a strong dividend paying track record. We've been paying dividends since 2001. So that has been consistently there every year. And we'll be naturally guided by the investors and the shareholders. But that is where the company is, and the position is it's a strong dividend paying company.
Right. Yeah, that was one unique part. Looking at the numbers, and it was coming out very strongly. Last question, sir, and we'll wrap up with that. And that would be, please help us understand what are the sort of funds you are raising and what's the sort of allocation for those funds are going to be?
So Piyush, it is as at this stage, it is completely offer for sale. So the funds that are getting raised are only going to the selling shareholders. And out of our 15 marquee shareholders, 7 of them are participating in this. But all of them continue to remain invested. They believe in the strength of the company. So importantly, I think it's a stage at which we feel that, as part of our growth cycle, we want to be a public listed company, which is what the investors believe, and they are contributing some amount towards making that listing happen. But a lot of them, or rather all of them, remain invested with a significant portion. There's a 15% overall dilution, if you may, and we see more strong investors, would like to see more strong investors coming in. And otherwise, it's an offer for sale, and the company is not in need of any funds for any of their business activities as of now.
Okay, sir. And perhaps no plans in the future right now because all are digital platforms, so everything would be getting funded from internal cash accruals, right?
No, absolutely. So actually, we are sitting on huge cash accruals, and we are definitely looking at using or leveraging those for any of our business funding to that extent.
Great, sir. Looks like a promising story. Great data story. Digitization perhaps is all we know that it's increasing. The trend is increasing, and perhaps it's an IPO. It's a company which I'm very sure our viewers actually are going to look with great interest. Thank you for coming on our show. From our side, all the best wishes to you for the IPO.
Thank you so much, Piyush. Thanks a lot.
And dear viewers, with that, we come to the end of the show. Hope you enjoyed it.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel and click on the bell icon to never miss an update from Nirmal Bang.